The day a man tried to fine me for solar panels on land he didn't own, I almost thanked him, because that was the day I stopped playing nice. See, most neighborhood disputes start small: a loud dog, a bad paint job, somebody's Christmas lights still up in March. This one started with a lien, a legal claim on 5 acres that had never belonged to the HOA in the first place. And when I realized they were willing to forge authority just to feel powerful, well, that's when the gloves came off. My wife Lauren and I bought our place about 9 years ago, 5 acres tucked out at the edge of what used to be open pasture outside a mid-sized southern town I won't name. Back then, the closest neighbor was a cattle ranch half a mile down a dirt road. At night, you could hear the wind move through the grass, that low, steady whisper like the land was breathing. No traffic, no streetlights, just stars and crickets and the kind of quiet that makes your shoulders finally drop. We didn't move out there to cosplay homesteaders. I'd spent almost 15 years in software development, badge swipes, glass office buildings, conference calls that could have been emails. I was tired of traffic, tired of 6-figure utility bills, tired of feeling like my life was scheduled in 30-minute increments by someone else's priorities. Lauren's a freelance graphic designer. As long as she's got internet, she can work anywhere. So we built something that actually belonged to us. And we did it right. Solar array with battery storage, deep well, rainwater collection tied into irrigation, composting system built to county spec, gray water recycling feeding the orchard. The house itself was passive solar, big south-facing windows, insulation so thick it felt like living inside a thermos, clean lines, engineered plans, stamped permits. We weren't winging it. We did everything by the book. For 3 years it was peaceful. Then the bulldozers showed up. A developer bought everything on 3 sides of us and rolled in with machinery and ambition. Within a year, rows of identical beige houses popped up like somebody copy-pasted them across the field. Tiny lawns, a clubhouse with fake stone columns trying real hard to look important. They called it Silver Ridge Commons, which always made me chuckle because there's no ridge and nothing about it shines. They formed an HOA before the paint was dry. Now here's the key part. Our parcel was never part of that development. Our deed predates their entire project. No covenants, no HOA language, no shared easements. When construction started, we hired an attorney just to double check. We were legally separate in every possible way. At first, things were cordial. A few neighbors wandered over to ask about the chickens or the solar panels. We gave away tomatoes from the garden. Most folks were just families trying to build a life. Then came the board election. That's when Caleb Prescott entered the picture. Late 50s, retired insurance claims supervisor, always in a tucked-in polo and pleated khakis like he was permanently headed to a corporate team-building retreat. He attended HOA meetings before he'd even finished unpacking, complained about mailbox colors, fence heights, a kid's basketball hoop being visible from the street. He ran for HOA president on a platform of protecting property values, and he won. Within weeks, Silver Ridge turned into a compliance laboratory. Grass measured with rulers, violation notices for trash cans left out too long. A family got fined because their front door was eggshell instead of approved almond. You can't make that stuff up. People grumbled, but most paid and moved on. Nobody wanted drama. Then one Tuesday afternoon, I opened our mailbox and found a letter from Silver Ridge Community Association addressed to us. Our solar panels violated aesthetic guidelines. $50 fine attached. I laughed. Lauren laughed. We assumed clerical error and tossed it. 2 weeks later, another notice. Chickens prohibited within community boundaries. Another $50. By the 4th letter, the fines were escalating. Compost bins labeled health hazards. Rain barrels unsightly. The greenhouse declared an unauthorized structure. Total was past $300 and climbing. That's when I wrote back. Polite attached a copy of our deed with the parcel number highlighted like I was explaining it to a 5th grader. Sent it certified mail to the board and their management company, Evergreen Association Services. A week later, I was out by the gate fixing a hinge when I heard a car door slam. Caleb walked up our gravel driveway like it belonged to him. "So you're the ones dragging down our property values," he said. "No introduction, no handshake." I wiped my hands on a rag and told him calmly that we weren't part of his HOA and never would be. He chuckled. Not angry, amused. That's what everyone says at first. The covenants run with the land. You're surrounded by us. Sooner or later, you'll comply. That word, comply. Over the next few months, the letters kept coming. 2 a week sometimes. Fines piling past $4,000. Then a formal demand letter from their attorney threatening legal action. We hired our own lawyer. She sent a cease and desist spelling out that they had zero jurisdiction. For a couple months, things went quiet. Then the county started knocking. Health department complained about our composting system. Building inspector complained about the solar array. Animal control complained about chickens. All filed the same day. Every inspector who came out ended up complimenting our setup. One even asked for our design specs. But it cost us time, stress, energy. Then they crossed the line. One morning, I got note to Silver Ridge had filed a lien against our property for unpaid HOA fines. They placed a legal claim on land they did not control. Our attorney went nuclear, filed a motion. The judge tossed the lien fast and ordered the HOA to cover our legal fees for that stunt. I figured that would end it. A week later, Caleb cornered me at a gas station in town. Fluorescent lights humming overhead, the sharp smell of gasoline hanging in the air. "This isn't over," he said, jabbing a finger into my chest. "I will make you comply." Standing there, I realized something. This wasn't about rules. It was about control. And that's when I stopped playing defense. Here's the thing people don't think about with HO. As the board makes noise, but the management company runs the machine. They send letters, track violations, manage money. Without them, the board is just volunteers arguing over folding chairs. Silver Ridge used Evergreen Association Services, small local firm. Owner named Martin Feld, late 60s. Managed about a dozen communities. A buddy joked one night over beers, "You should just buy the company." He laughed. I didn't. Turns out Martin was ready to retire. Burned out. Health issues. The asking price was surprisingly reasonable. Lauren looked at me like I'd lost my mind. But we'd saved. No mortgage. No utility bills. Buying Evergreen wasn't pocket change, but it was possible. 3 months later, in a quiet conference room downtown, I signed the paperwork. I walked out the owner of the same company that had been sending me violation notices for 2 years. Monday morning, I sat in Evergreen's small office going through files. That's when the twist surfaced. Landscaping invoices paid to Prescott Outdoor Solutions, owned by Caleb's brother-in-law. Community outreach expenses that looked suspiciously like steakhouse dinners. A clubhouse security upgrade that included a high-end projector and surround sound equipment regular residents weren't allowed to use. Over 2 years, questionable expenditures totaled just north of $42,000. Not headline-grabbing money, but enough to matter to families paying monthly dues. Compliance logs showed field inspectors noting our parcel was outside HOA jurisdiction, and those notes overridden by direct instruction from Caleb. I called the inspectors in. Any enforcement against that 5-acre parcel stops immediately. Tom exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for a year. The next board meeting I attended, blazer on, calm. 40 homeowners and folding chairs, Caleb at the front. When it was my turn, I stood. "I'm Daniel Harper," I said, "the new owner of Evergreen Association Services." Silence hit like a dropped plate. I presented the audit. Landscaping contracts, steakhouse charges, compliance overrides. Murmurs turned into anger. A woman said the pool had been broken since Memorial Day. A retired teacher said she and her husband were on fixed income and had paid every dues increase. Caleb tried to shout over them, called it a smear campaign. I calmly read from the management contract, the one he signed, granting Evergreen authority to conduct audits and present findings directly to homeowners. Under their bylaws, a majority vote triggered a special election. Hands went up. 28 in favor, 4 opposed. Caleb stormed out. Within weeks, an interim board formed. Full reconciliation done. Caleb repaid a significant portion personally. The rest covered quietly. New landscaping company at half the cost. Pool fixed. Clubhouse reopened. At the next meeting, the board passed a formal resolution acknowledging our parcel was not and had never been part of Silver Ridge. All fines voided. A homeowner told me quietly, "We were afraid to push back." He retaliated. That stuck. I ran Evergreen for about a year, cleaned it up, gave raises where they were overdue. Then I sold the company to Tom, the inspector, who'd actually had the integrity to document the truth. Caleb sold his house not long after. Now when I drive past Silver Ridge, it looks normal. Kids riding bikes, lawns green. Our place is still there. Solar panels catching the sun, chickens scratching, garden growing. He told me I would comply with community standards. In the end, I did. I just made sure those standards applied to him, too. Sometimes I wonder, did I go too far? Buying a company just to stop one man from overreaching isn't exactly subtle. But here's what I learned. Systems don't abuse people. People abuse systems. And sometimes the only way to fix that is to step inside the machine and turn the gears yourself. So what would you have done? Kept fighting in court? Tried to dissolve the HOA entirely? Or was this the right kind of compliance? Drop your thoughts. I read them. And if you've ever dealt with someone who confused authority with ownership, I want to hear that story too. Because sometimes karma doesn't knock. Sometimes you buy the front door and invite it in.